All right, guys, so today we're going to be installing a 3-inch lift kit on a 2000 Toyota forerunner. Now, I happen to have a two-wheel drive version. I'm pretty sure it's the same kit for the four-wheel drive. Now, here's the rear coils, the rear shocks, and the front spacers. Now, I also bought front struts, although these were bought separately and not included with the kit. This truck just happens to need shocks, so I figured I'll do it while I'm in here. First thing, we got the wheel off. We're gonna be tackling this front strut. So let's get it all apart and get this front corner done. First thing we're gonna do on this side is, here's what we're removing. This upper control arm bolt, the 3 bolts that hook up to the strut, sway bar end link, outer tie rod, and that way this whole knuckle can come forward and, drop, so there's space to actually pull this out, So let's start with that, and we'll get this shock out of here. Folks, front strut is out on this side. Here's the old one. Here's a new one. So keep in mind, the ones I bought that are new are stock, and then we're adding on those 3-inch spacers. So they have the same bolt pattern on top, same coil length and mounting. Great, so let's throw this new one in, and actually we'll install the spacer first. Spacer installed. These nuts, you torque to 47 or 50 foot-pounds, I believe. That's what these are also calling for, so I did the same, but there's a strut, it's about to go in. I'm gonna secure the top first and kind of leave it loose for play, and then we'll try to put the bottom in. We'll see how this goes. So we got the strut in. It was a little difficult. You kind of have to, it was difficult to line up the bottom mount. Top's in. It's not torqued yet, just everything's snug. I'm gonna go ahead, torque it, and then throw everything back together. I did have to loosen up an ABS line and remove it from here to have enough motion to be able to push down on this control arm to make that work. So let's go ahead and put everything back together. Guys, this one's in. Everything's torqued down except the sway bar end link. You can see this whole gap here. I'm trying to jack up this side to get that, to get more narrow, the space to get more narrow to torque that down. But I actually have the whole front end jacked up, so I'd rather have the front end not jacked up so that I can actually push this up enough, because it's just lifting the whole truck, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm gonna have to get the truck on its own weight to torque that down. But anyways, this side is done. Everything's torqued down, 50 foot-pounds, 110 foot-pounds or something like that. All the brake line brackets, ABS brackets back on. We'll get the other side going. Car, and wow, this is what the front quarter looks like. That is more than I thought. So what I'm thinking is, since these are brand new struts, they're gonna need a little bit of time to settle, and it might drop a 1/4 inch at that point. Hoping the wheels aren't cambered too much. It looks fine. So let's do the other front side. So I got both the front done. This side of the front went way quicker. Didn't have any issues. Man, it's pretty tall. We're squatted right now. Hopefully the rear can catch up and do just the same. Like I said, I know these new struts are gonna collapse about a 1/4 inch and settle eventually, because they're brand new. So they're gonna be stiff. So let's do the rear now. We're gonna have to drop the axle, traction bars, pull out the old coils, etc. I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. Guys, the back's not too bad. I got the truck jacked up on both sides, got this wheel off. I may have to take the other wheel off at the same time, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna find out. All we have to take out is this shock, this coil, undo some brake lines for slack, this traction bar, and this sway bar end link. So this right here, I believe that's like a 12, I would think, 12 millimeter, 19 millimeter. Okay, and then these brake lines, and I'll show you where we're at. I forgot to mention, when removing the top of the the shock, it actually comes up through here and down under this gap. There's a little bucket where this spoke sits in. You have to reach your arm up and around and over, and it's a little 14 millimeter, and there's actually 2 nuts on it. It's a little thin nut, pull that off first, and then this nut. Now, if it starts to spin and you're not making progress getting this nut off, you have to cut this case and use vice grips to grab onto that piston shaft so it doesn't just spin with the nut. Mine didn't spin, I was able to get it off. So anyway, now that I got the traction bar off, sway bar end link, brake lines, I'm gonna lower the axle with my jack and it'll come down slowly. I'll be able to pull this out, put the new one in. I have shock compressors to compress the new coil so that it can fit. And then, you know, obviously the shock will go in and then reverse procedure. The back is not too long. It hasn't taken me too long at all, so we should fly, especially on the next side. So let's go. The new one compressed. Rented this from AutoZone. Here's the old one out. Got the axle lowered. This top hat comes out of the old one. Put it in this one. Find the marks and just use intuition and line it up properly. And keep the same orientation of the spring, so pay attention when you pull that out. Let's go ahead and put this new one in. I had a little trouble lining up this traction bar bolt hole. Now I had to do a ratchet strap and a hook to there, around the axle, up to here. Was able to pull the axle forward while it's jacked up to line up that hole and finally get that bolt through. I got the sway bar in loosely, we'll torque that down. This one's in pretty tight but not torqued. The coil's in, I got the compressors off. So this side is done after we torque everything down, put the brake lines back. And then we'll finish the other side and we'll be done. Wrapped up, same process for the other corner. Then we'll be all done. I'll show you the finished product. Back wasn't too bad. Yeah, just those spring compressors were definitely necessary. So let's get it off. Pointer. Finished. On this side, when I was trying to undo the nut on top, it was spinning. So I cut a little window, got my vice grips on there, reached my arm around the back, got the socket on it. I also had to hold the socket down because it kept wanting to slip off, so I put my pry bar through there, pressed down on the top of the socket, and that's how I got this strut off. It was a pain in the butt. There you have it, folks. The truck is done. My tires are so small it looks like I skipped leg day. Might need to get some bigger tires here in the future. Go around to the other side. Difficulty level medium hard. It can be done for sure. Just those coil spring compressors are essential. Also a ratchet strap to line up that traction bar. So that's how it sits, folks. Hope this helped. Hope it was cool to watch at least. And that's it.